All right, boys and girls, girls and boys, super intelligent shades of the color blue, attack helicopters, or whatever you might identify as. Welcome once again to another thrilling episode of Cross Pollination. Today, we have Rachael with us, and I'm going to stop talking pretty well straight away and invite her to introduce herself to us. Social media, background, all of that. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm Rachael. I've been on the carnivore diet for 4.5 years, so it'd be 5 years in April. My socials are carnivore.fitness across all socials, but I also have the addition of tallow.glow, which is my range of tallow products, which is quite nice. So that's me. You can find me everywhere, carnivore.fitness, only on Instagram and Facebook for tallow.glow.
Okay. Brilliant. All right. So your background, Rachael, we're clearly English, but your kind of professional background and how this is all developed. Basically, tell us your story, how you came across the carnivore lifestyle, what it was that was happening for you at the time or beforehand, and what's much better now.
Well, I got really unhealthy before I found the diet. So I had my youngest child, and I lost my way because throughout the whole of my life, I'd been really fit and healthy, and everyone kind of looked at me as the healthy one because I grew up with a bodybuilder father. My mum was always slim and in shape. So, that was just the natural way. And then I had my fourth baby. And after having my fourth child, I could just kind of got in a bit of a hole and started hanging out coffee shops and having coffee and cake a lot. I wasn't eating a great deal, but when I was eating, it was always bad choices, which is really bad. And what I found is I became really quite toxic I felt like my brain was toxic. There was definitely a lot of inflammation there. And I stayed that way for a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years. And then one day I just thought, no, I need to make a change. So I started going to the gym, and when I went to the gym, I would go at 4 a.m. because I didn't want to be seen by anyone, because everyone knew me as this really fit girl. And then all of a sudden I'd changed quite drastically. So I started going to the gym, and then I started to play with diet. So first of all, I started a keto diet, and with the keto diet, I had great success with the keto diet, but I wasn't completely optimal. Like, I felt like there were some things that I could still improve. So I've been doing the keto diet for 6 months, and I came across people like yourself, like Sean Baker, and I thought, these people are crazy, because I used to count net carbs so that I could pile my veg high on the plate, and I thought that was really important. And then what happened was, after listening to some of these videos, I would think, okay, so I've just eaten asparagus and now I feel a bit off. And, you just kind of make notes. So it's almost like you get a seed planted, and from that seed, it grows. And then you think, actually, I'm just going to try it. So it was the day before my daughter's birthday. I'm just going to jump all in and go for it. So I did. I actually thought at first that I was going to disprove the diet, and actually that veg was really necessary, and we'll see how I feel after. I was only going to do it for like 1 or 2 weeks. By day 3, I knew, no, this is where it's at, and this is where I'm staying, because there's no food anywhere that's worth not feeling amazing. So it pretty quickly turned around and cleaned up the last few bits of my health that I wanted to. In the first week, I lost 7 pounds. In the second week, I lost 7 pounds. And I kind of just didn't really focus on those numbers anymore. I focused more on how I felt. When I was keto, I was using the keto, looking for the ketones and pricking my finger every day, like obsessing about it. So I think that's another indication of health. If your health isn't completely optimal, then you kind of look at those numbers, and you're kind of searching to be told it's okay what you're doing. And as I said, I did enjoy keto, but carnivore was just so much better. It was like keto but on steroids, and it just kind of, I went from eating meat and veg, a lot of veg, to just meat, and I had drastic improvements. So like bloating going, achy joints going, my depression and anxiety is non-existent. You know, all of that has resolved. Every single health issue that I did have previous to trying keto, everything has resolved, which is nice. You know, that not a lot of people can say that they're getting healthier as they get older. You know, it's normally the other way around. So that's why I just thought it's just a no-brainer to stay with the diet. And then once I knew how great the diet was, I then wanted to share that with others. So I started coaching on the MeatRx platform. And I did that until they actually stopped coaching. I was still their coach up till the end. And in the beginning, after I'd been carnivore for about 6 months, maybe 9 months, I started working with the MeatRx team, now Rivero. And I was their podcast editor for 2 years for Sean's, his podcast. So it's nice to be in the space. And, when you feel like a diet has given you so much, you feel like you want to give back and you want to share it. You want to shout it from the rooftops, because other people don't have to feel like I did before. You can feel amazing and you can age well. So I wanted to share it everywhere.
Brilliant. Well, let's be awfully rude and just go straight there. How old are you, young lady?
So I've just turned 40. I was 40 in August.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have picked that. I mean, I'm dreadful at picking people's age anyway, but no, I certainly wouldn't have put you in your 40s. A lot of people say the same sort of thing about myself. They think that I look somewhat younger than I probably actually am. Those are the ones, of course, that don't already hate me for some reason and just decided that I've got horns growing out of my head or whatever. But that's and it seems to be a common thing that the obvious signs of aging that you can look at a person and see, we're just not really seeing that in the carnivore community of people that have been carnivore for any significant period of time. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there's some slowing of the aging happening?
I 100% believe that. So before I went keto, or before my 4th pregnancy, rewind a little bit, I actually was, my cousin got brain cancer and I was trying to work out ways of getting her healthy because her diet was shocking. And I was trying to suggest keto, but none of us knew how to do it or anything. And, so I had a friend at the time that was really big in the juicing community. So we started juicing. And I would go for like a month at a time just juicing. Every time I did one of those fasts, I craved meat more and more. The urges got stronger and stronger. I was constantly getting injuries at the gym. I was losing hair. My memory got really bad. There was quite a few downsides to that. And I went from juicing to then a carb cycle diet, which was really heavy in meat. So there was a lot of meat, but it was low carb. So it's low carb, high fat, then medium carb, and then the other day was high carb, low fat. And my favorite days were always the low carb, high fat. And apparently that was really strange because everyone else enjoyed the high carb and I couldn't stand them days. I never used to be able to finish all that plain rice. It was just horrible. So I did kind of, when I was juicing a lot, I found that aged me quite a bit. When I introduced the carb cycle plan, that did a lot to get me back to where I was previous to the juicing. But then what I found is when I started the carnivore diet, I just found a lot of reversing of aging, which is really nice. And normally when I tell people face to face my age, I'm not get people swearing at me and all sorts, they just don't believe me at all, which is nice, which is really nice.
Sure, absolutely. All right. So what are some of the toughest things that you've come across with folks in the without giving away anyone's trade secrets or anything, but in the coaching realm, what are the toughest things that you're seeing out there that are the hardest things to deal with for folks, do you think?
I find the biggest problem in the coaching realm is with people trying the diet. I don't know if they hear the name carnivore diet and they think they've got to majorly restrict, and that is the biggest problem that I find. I had 1 week where I had 3 different clients, and when I worked out, obviously I don't do calorie counting, but just as a number to see where they were at, and they were eating 900 calories a day, each one of them, separate people. One of them was living in Antarctica, so she actually needed to have more nutrition because her body obviously is warming herself up and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, and she was a PT, and she did not lose any weight until she corrected that. And we kind of done a reverse and got her just eating intuitively, because that's what I like to say, is eat intuitively instead of counting calories and all that kind of stuff. But and then see how you feel, and we kind of tweak along the way. But that is the biggest problem that I see, is people under eating. It's not overeating, it's under eating.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I know that you understand the thing with the calories not being a great metric on anything, but rather being the use here in this context is as a very loose descriptor of amount of food being consumed.
Yeah.
And yeah, that does sound to me like, you know, unless these are very, very small framed, very sedentary individuals, it does not sound like enough food to maintain what I'll call confidence in metabolic pathways, to be able to utilize energy and live at a rate and all of that at an optimal rate. And as such, everything slows down, everything grinds to a halt, and you've got this locked in state of chronic systemic inflammation. And the one thing that I found in my practice to date is that if a person is inflamed to any significant degree, they will not lose weight, irrespective of what they eat. What are your thoughts on that? Are you finding similar or completely different?
No, I do find that as well. I do. I think that the body needs to heal, doesn't it? And when you, obviously on the carnivore diet, it's the best way to heal because you're not putting anything bad in, but you've got to think of other things as well. You know, sleep factors in there, stress factors in there. It's not just food, but food is, I'd say, probably you know, the majority of the factor. But all of those things you do have to think about. So when people are quite inflamed, they're really not sleeping well. They're waking up multiple times. They may have issues where they're having to get up and go to the toilet in the night. You know, it causes problems, and people think that it's not a big deal if they're going to eat bad food, but actually it is a big deal because it can be quite detrimental in your life. When I was eating bad foods, I just felt like I was existing. I wasn't, I was hiding away from everyone, didn't want anyone to see me. I was, you know, I'd make all these lovely plans and I'd cancel all of them and just stay in. So I do think that people need to take it seriously. And, you know, sometimes people say to me, oh, why do you have to be so strict? Why do you? And it's like, well, yeah, I don't even see it as restricting because it's given me such freedom in my life that how can you possibly look at something, you know, we're only meant to eat to fuel our bodies. We're not meant to eat for satisfaction, you know, all of that stuff. Saying that, I do enjoy all of my food that I eat, but it's not like it's an emotional attachment. And, you know, if I go out with people that are eating a lot of carbs, we don't get very far until they need to eat. And then again, they need to eat again. So that kind of shows me how amazing the diet is, because you can just kind of load up and just carry on. You don't have to constantly think about the diet. And I think that that's really nice. A lot of people may think that as a carnivore, oh, you really just focus on food. Well, actually, no, sometimes that's the last thing I'm thinking about. Literally, I get hungry, I eat, I fill up, and then that's it, I go. You know, you don't have to majorly overthink it.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with those sentiments. The way I normally explain that to people is I say to them, look, the reason that you eat is so that you might live. It is not the other way around.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Very good.
Yeah. So I've kind of been dropping that one around the place a bit, hoping that it will take root there. And yeah, there's an obsession, isn't there? An absolute obsession with food. And, you know, I too like, geez, I'm hungry. I think I better have some meat and associated fat. Additional fat, of course, usually in the form of butter in my case, because that's the way we like to do it here. Salt to taste. Very nice. 20 minutes later, that's done with. Right, food's taken care of for the next 24 hours because I'm a once-a-day man. It frees up so much time. Meal prep time, wash-up time, gone, basically. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. What do you think of the 1 meal a day, 2 meal a day argument? This all of this kind of stuff. You think that makes big differences?
I think that people should try doing different things and see what suits them. For me personally, I'm really an unusual carnivore. I eat more than that. I eat 2 to 3 times a day, mainly 3 times a day. And I find that helps me, that actually gives me a better body composition, that makes me feel better throughout the day. I did try the once a day, 1 meal a day, and it just didn't suit me for many ways, many reasons. So I changed and, tweaked it and got back to doing the 2 or 3 meals. Some days there may be 3, some days there may be 2, but it just depends on what I'm doing that day and how much I feel like my body is asking for, because I just eat when I'm hungry.
Yes. Now, look, I'm sorry. There's no room for thinking for yourself here. You did it wrong. We're going to have to collect your card, and I think I'll send my colleague to dish out the discipline required for such behaviour. No, all joking aside, I absolutely agree with that as well. Of course, apply all the generalizations to yourself in the context of what's working for you in your lifestyle. I mean, in your case, you may well have had quite a distance to travel in terms of getting your hormones back in whack after 4 kids. I mean, wow, there's a learning curve. 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good work. Good work. So that would have left your endocrine system, hormonal system in quite some state, I would imagine. In future, you might find that 1 meal a day is the way to go. But, at the moment, if it's not, I'd absolutely support people applying those things too. But I think there's a limit, which is, I'm getting to the next question. Where do you think that the limit is on how much people should say or whatever they reckon just because it might have worked for them or something? And I'm thinking about a particular example of an individual who was talking sensibly about carnivore for a couple of years and then suddenly decided that pouring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grams of carbohydrates down his neck every day was a good idea. And you too, dear listener, you should do that too because it's great, says this individual. What are your thoughts on people like that who just kind of come online and say, well, we can say whatever we like, so here it is?
Yeah, I mean, I have had clients that tried that way and it kind of messed them up, and they came to me and we tweaked some things, got rid of all that, and they felt much better for it, no bloating anymore and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I have a theory, and it is just a theory, so I suppose I'm just doing the same. My theory with that person, if we're thinking about the same person, is they overdo the organs. If you look at an animal, the organs are such a small percentage of that animal, you shouldn't be overeating them. There's just no way naturally possible when we were hunters and gatherers that we would kill an animal. So say all the men go out in the tribe and they would go and kill an animal. Well, then you divide that up to each family, that 1 kill, and then the organs, you'd get very little, very little. Some people would say that they used to give the organs to the dogs and things like that. And I think that overeating on organs can really do you some harm if you overeat them. And I feel like that's what his issue was. And he's still doing that now, obviously. And I do think that that's why he had to reintroduce. And what I've seen in the carnivore community is pretty much all of the long-termers don't really do organs. And if they do, it's very little and not very often. And the ones that actually start the diet and they're all about the organs, they don't last that long and they end up having to reintroduce something. So that's just my theory on that one.
I think that is bang in order. I think that's right on, nail on the head. And I've said myself pretty much exactly that multiple times as one of that individual's issues. The other one, I think, for that individual was insufficient protein in one meal on a daily basis, combined with basically ostensibly what's overtraining, over-exercising for any individual. It's too active. and all of those things set him up for that. And while pouring carbohydrates down his neck ameliorates the immediate problem with his electrolytes, etc., what damage is all that fructose and glucose doing to his body?
Mm.
Well, take a look at a video posted by that gentleman, say 3 years ago when he was fully carnivore, even with the organs, and then have a look at a video today and just use the ichrometer, I guess. And you know, if you can't see it, well, I don't know how to help people that can't see what's right in front of them.
I do think that there is some advanced aging, and it's unfortunate, really. Obviously, I feel like the fructose isn't very good. And I remember having conversations with Dr. Anthony Chaffy before he started doing his own YouTube channel, and absolutely fascinating to listen to his ideas on the fructose. And that kind of just sealed it for me when I was listening to him. And just when you look actually with people that are following that kind of diet, I do feel like it advanced the aging, which isn't the way to go in my eyes.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, Anthony Chaffee is a really, really good source of good, robust, valid information regarding human physiology, human nutrition requirements. In my estimation, I have a lot of respect for Anthony Chaffee in that respect. I did a review along with former fat girl Nicole the other day. We went through that painful debate that he sat through with that vegan individual who was rude, condescending, Dunning-Kruger dripping from it, you know the one,
Yes.
the naturopath, that bloke. And while Anthony got the points across, I think, in terms of dealing with the straw manning that he was copying and all of that, he was way too polite, I thought.
He is very polite, man. We had a live the other day, and we had all these questions coming in. He's amazing. He answered them all. He's very giving with his time. Yeah, he's definitely been raised with manners.
Yes, absolutely. And as such, you know, probably wouldn't be my pick for the debating team. I think I said at the time on several occasions, this is why I should be doing all these debates with these vegans. I should be the go-to man, I think. I'm trying to build support momentum for this. Of course, none of them will accept a debate with me. Not one of them will front up. And I wonder why that is.
That's so frustrating. I remember there was a vegan, what was her name? Years ago that you used to go to and backwards and forwards with.
Do you mean herself from Chorley, the witch from Chorley? Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything from her for a while.
She ran afoul of her employer. She ran very foul of her employer, I would imagine, on the basis that her commentary, because she's a rabid vegan, basically, her commentary became more and more extreme, more and more socially unacceptable in decent society, as they always do. While ever she was holding a position as a reader in psychiatry in a major metropolitan university, somewhere around about the north of Manchester.
Yeah, the two don't go together, do they?
No,
they do not.
Finally, it got to the point finally where she was having exchanges with Tristan Haggard, and she made a video where she stated that she would quite happily kill him and keep his body in her shed for a bit.
Because that's normal. That's really normal.
So obviously a number of people... Yeah. So a number of people, you know, from the carnivore community, I think, contacted the university concerned and said, "Did you know this is what your reader in psychiatry is saying, or psychology, whatever the hell it is?" Anyway, so her vegan offerings channel disappeared, and I think she's now got another one which is called her name, which I'm not going to give you, After Dark, and it's about crime scene investigations or something.
Oh, so it's not the topic of food whatsoever?
No, I think she's been told you stay away from that now, thank you, because you're bringing us, your employer, into disrepute by saying things like you're going to kill people and keep their body in a shed.
Yeah, crazy.
So-
I think they're a bit harsh, weren't they?
Well, I don't know. I think it's a real shame that she can't come online and say, "It's there, just have it does, Bart. You don't have any evidence, do you, Bart? Just have it does." That was always fun. Yeah. Anyway, dear old what's her name that we're not giving. Yeah, so that was that one. I don't know. What else do we need to cover off today in terms of?
There were some things that I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you. We've also always we've already spoken about calories in, calories out,
Yeah.
and I don't trust in that concept whatsoever. And I know I'm pretty sure that you don't either, from watching videos of yours. What's your take on why calories in, calories out is nonsense?
Right. Largely, mostly, ostensibly, in an overarching way, here it is. Calories in, calories out is touted as a useful, safe, and effective tool that people can use to predictably change their body composition. The problems with it are the calories in are impossible for you to gauge, measure accurately, and the same is true of calories out. So how can this thing be a tool that you can use to predictably change your body composition when it is so wildly inaccurate as a measure of anything of any value, utility, or knock-on circumstance? As such, to make the thing useful, what you have to do in order to predictably lose fat off your body weight, you have to reduce your calorie intake by such a large margin that it's now unsafe to do so for your long-term health. And that's why it should not be used, touted, suggested to people as a methodology, because you won't find any of these calories in, calories out proponents saying to people, well, what you need to do is reduce your calorie intake by 50 every day for the next 20 years. And after 20 years, you'll be 20 pounds lighter, or whatever it is. You can do the math and see how wildly out my guess was there if you like later, but whatever. Because they know that won't necessarily work, because 50 is within the range of error of the measurement. So if you think you're reducing something by 50, you may or may not be because of that. And so you might actually do that for 20 years and gain weight.
Yeah.
So none of them are saying that. They're all saying, here's what you do. You reduce your calories by 500 a day. And you do that until you reach your goal weight. Well, good. You can do that if you like. Absolutely. But what you'll find, though, is by the time you get there, for most people, your metabolism will be absolutely shot from undertaking that intervention. It's not safe and effective. So you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think there's so many knock-on effects to the health when people are concentrating solely on that number, because they tend to pick the wrong foods. That tends to be not sustainable. And then they have binges, when you're under eating as well, because it promotes under eating. And there's no animal in the wild that counts anything. If you're eating your species specific diet, you just go out there and you eat until you're full up, and that's that. You're done. You don't need to overthink things so much. But where we've introduced so many of these non-foods that people now recognize as the main foods, and actually when you introduce real foods, they look at you like you're some alien, like, what are you doing? Haven't you heard that meat causes cancer and all that kind of stuff? I did have that. When I first started the diet, my mum sat me down and she was like, but what about your cholesterol? I'm really concerned about this diet.
Yeah.
So luckily I'd looked into some studies, and I'd looked into a lot of information on the cholesterol, and I could put her to ease. But yeah, there's no animal in the wild that goes and thinks, right, I can't eat that zebra because I need to have something else. It's just absolutely ridiculous when they're eating their species-specific diet that there's no thinking to it.
Yeah.
I think people get cold, they do less at the gym, or they do less in their day-to-day lives because they're lethargic. There's so many different knock-on effects to actually under-eating that sometimes increasing that actually helps all round with health, with happiness, with actually just walking taller. And when you are doing that even that alone just transforms the way you are and the way you're thinking. Is just when you're kind of walking and you're insecure and you're unsure. I just think there's so many things that is negative about doing that and focusing on numbers instead of actually what you're eating, because they can eat Oreos or whatever else they want to eat as long as it fits their calorie counting ways, which I think is really bad that people promote that for health.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Once again, shocking idea, really, that all calories are equal. Because
it's just some hormones, it's just really not.
Because while you might rapidly vaporize, combust two different food samples in a bomb calorimeter and get the same answer for the so-called calories in it, the effect of those two things on a human body can be so totally disparate that it's laughable. And, the example would be Oreos versus steak. 100 calories of each. Which one is likely to have the best effect on your endocrine system, hormonal system, your metabolism at large, ergo your prospects of health and longevity? It's obvious.
Then you get illness creeping in, and then people start taking pills for them illnesses, and then they get more illnesses. It's a downward spiral.
Yep, absolutely. Well, there we have it pretty much in a nutshell on calories in, calories out. I mean, I could talk all day about the scientific reasons why it's not an appropriate measurement of anything of any value, but I've kind of already done that on my channel at large. If people want to go and have a look for all of that, it's under a playlist called Calories In, Calories Out is Nonsense or something like that. Well worth a look. Anything else you wanted to, since you've got me here, anything else you wanted to swing past me before we sign off?
We touched on it earlier with the fructose fruits, and we didn't mention honey though. What do you think about people that are introducing honey and all these other things? And actually there's this whole kind of push for orange juice now as well, which obviously is helping them beat the scurvy, isn't it?
Oh, well, then the damn scurvy that we're all having.
I know.
I know. Look at the scurvy just dripping from every pore. Right. Fructose is the problem. If glucose wasn't a problem by itself, which it is. Consuming exogenous carbohydrate always leads A, to inflammation, B, to glycation of tissues, the addition of sugar molecules to proteins in such a way as to fundamentally change their conformation, and to excess sugar pouring through the metabolic pathway, leading to the production of vast amounts of fats. So you get fatty liver, you get excess fat in the blood, you get excess fat floating around in some of the cells, and you get fat piling onto your adipose tissues. And you get to a point where you look in the mirror one day and you go, "Oh, goodness me, what's happened?" The problem with honey is it's a mixture of two sugars largely. It's fructose and glucose in whatever proportion happens to be from the particular source of nectar that those honeys have collected. Those bees have collected. And we know that glucose is damaging, and we measure that with the HbA1c test, or sometimes it's just called the A1C test. And that looks at the level of glycation of someone's red blood cells, basically, and says, look, this is how much damage your red blood cells have copped because of glucose. But that test is completely insensitive to fructose and other forms of sugar. Despite what our friend, the honey-eating, fruit-eating, surfing bloke says, actually, the A1C test is very, very specific for glucose. It does not pick up fructose being bound onto tissues. Turns out, when you look, that fructose is somewhere between 7 and 11 times more damaging to tissues than is glucose.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, and I didn't realize on the A1C test either that it doesn't really come up on it.
Yeah,
interesting.
It will not see that. It will not pick that up.
Kind of blows things out of the water, doesn't it, with the bloods and things that have come up.
Yeah, exactly that. So, I mean, honey has some great properties that are useful to human beings. Absolutely, topically. Great for burns. It's great as an antiseptic for other kinds of wounds as well. It's not a bad thing necessarily as an ingredient in a skincare product. But eating honey, no, that's not a great idea. A small amount of anything in the diet, okay, whether that means a very small amount of honey on a daily basis, or whether that means a larger amount of honey, but very, very rarely, once a year, for example, I don't think that's going to tip the cart one way or the other necessarily. I think that's a here or there thing. But when you're talking about hundreds of grams of anything containing carbohydrates, we've got a problem.
And mixing that with a high fat diet as well, because there's both there.
Yeah. So thereby you're going to activate the Rachaels cycle in a negative way, absolutely. And that Rachaels cycle is going to become less and less reticent to be deactivated, or downregulated is a better term for it. And as such, you've got inflammation, you've got the tendency towards increased adiposity, getting fat, and you've got all the sequelae involved in inflammation, which is basically all the big killers: heart disease, most forms of cancer, most forms of dementia, all down causally to really inflammation. Chronic
all that stuff that you're trying to avoid. Yeah.
So no, I don't personally think there's any place in the diet for honey on an ongoing basis in any significant amount. I also caveat all of that by saying to people, look, at large, it seems that the human capacity on average to get away with consuming carbs seems to be around about 50 grams or less for most people. So,
and that's around keto levels, isn't it? 50.
Yeah. Which, funnily enough, it is exactly around that level. So there must be some kind of connection there, one would think.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all very interesting. So what's your take on scurvy? If someone is vitamin C deficient, how long does it take for them to develop scurvy?
Scurvy,
how close
scurvy develops over 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I'm
finished.
what am I, 8 years overdue?
Yeah.
For my death from scurvy. Now a lot of people say, oh yes, but you take that particular cerule product, that collagen product that's got some vitamin C in it, so that's what's saving you, they say. Except I've only just started taking that product in the last 12 months. So I would still have been 7 years overdue.
I haven't heard of that product. What is it?
Oh, right. I'm involved in marketing a range of products by a company called Cerule. I have an independent business arrangement with them, and these are products that encourage your bone marrow to release your adult stem cells so that they can renew and repair your tissues, basically. Also, by the way, said stem cells, when they differentiate into brand new cells, they do that with full-length telomeres.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you got that, you're already sold.
Longevity.
Well, we're not allowed to claim that because we're not allowed to make any therapeutic claims at all because it's an American company that goes by FDA rules. So we can't do it. But basically, if you got what I just said about telomeres, you got it. And if you didn't get it, you'll probably go and find out, which you can do by looking at a video on my channel called Telomeres, Everything You Need to Know. So that's one product that company runs. That's their main flagship product. But also we have an anti-inflammatory that doesn't have the side effects of the pharmacological ones. And it's one that works powerfully on both LOX and COX pathways. Downregulates those. A third oral supplementation product is a blood flow enhancer that dissolves fibrin deposits out of capillaries, or the Americans would say capillaries, and thus allows decent blood flow and the delivery of stem cells to where they need to be, basically. And then relatively recently, in the last year or so, we've got this product, this collagen product, which is a marine collagen peptide product. And in the first year it's been available, it's become the biggest seller that the company has for some reason. It's crazy. But it's a powder form. You just rip the sachet open, put it in water. There are one or two bits of feedback on the various ingredients in that product, which we take on board absolutely. But on balance, I think it's a great product. I take it myself. I recommend it. And everyone that is taking it that I know of is singing from the rooftops about it. It seems one of the biggest deficiencies that humans have is collagen, which is crazy. Even carnivore folks are finding that this is synergistic and supporting. But also because it's a collagen product, the company have put some vitamin C in it because you need vitamin C to form collagen from collagen peptides, which is what the product is. So that's what's saving me, is what people are saying.
Been saved from
That's
these
right.
supplements.
Yes, which, as I say, the answer is, well, yes, if you like, except I still would have been 7 years overdue for scurvy because I wasn't taking anything containing any vitamin C for about 7 years.
No, but the vegans won't let you say that. So
of course they won't. Of course they won't. Anyway, that's that one. So that's the Sorol product. There'll be a link under the video for people that are interested in getting full-length telomeres into their tissues, if they understand the value of that. That's a massive thing. There are also opportunities for folks who would like to be affiliates and be involved in the marketing process as well. If you want to earn some money, there's opportunities there. Just let me know, anyone that's interested in that, and I shall point you in the right direction. So that's that one.
That's good.
Awesome. All right. How should we finish off? You're the guest. Why don't you finish us off with what it is we need to know about what? And remind us of videos and all of that.
Okay, what you need to know is to rise above the vegan hate. What I found is when I started speaking about the carnivore diet is I did get a lot of vegan hate. A lot of vegans wishing that I had cancer and stuff like that, which is really crazy. So rise above that. Don't let anyone stop you from passing on the information, because actually when I regained my health, it just made me be really loud and proud about it and wanted to make other people feel that way as well. So I think the carnivore diet, as I said earlier, for me is where it's at. People should not be scared to try it and just see how it feels.
Awesome. Very good. And remind us of where we find you, Rachael, your social media accounts, all of that.
Yeah, so carnivore.fitness across all platforms, or tello.glow on Instagram and Facebook.
Brilliant. All right, there it is. There you have it. It really is very, very gratifying and pleasing to me that there are so many voices out there from different parts of the world and different places and different backgrounds now who are singing from the right hymn sheet. And I think long may that continue. And the more of us that stand up and sing the song together, the more tuneful it becomes, perhaps, depending on unless you're tone deaf or something. I don't know. So there it is. Thank you very much for your valuable time today. Appreciate it very much. Do keep in touch, and we'll be looking forward to future collaborations, cross-pollinations, etc. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all.
I enjoyed-
Okay. See you then.